Hi, boys and girls. Today we are going to learn about integers. You have probably already learned about them in middle school, but I wanted to give you a quick reminder. So, an integer is any positive or negative whole number. So I drew a number line here for you to visualize. Remember, the positive numbers are on the right-hand side of 0, and the negative integers are on the left-hand side of 0. As you go from left to right, your integers get larger. So 5 is greater than all these other integers to the left of 5, etc. So we're going to go through some operations of integers. We're going to add, subtract, multiply, and divide, and remind you of the rules that go with them. So in the first example, we have 38 plus a negative 27. So the 38 is a positive integer, the 27 is a negative integer. And when the signs are different, you take the difference of the integers. So the difference between 38 and 27 is 9, and you take the sign of the larger number. So 38 is bigger than 27, and 38 is positive. So my answer will be a positive 9. For our next example, we have negative 5 plus a negative 3. And as you can see, both the 5 and the 3 are negative. They're both negative integers. So when the integers have the same sign, you add them. So 5 plus 3 is 8, and carry the sign of the integers, which was negative. So my answer is negative 8. Then we have negative 57 plus 23. The 57 is negative, the 23 is positive. Since their signs are different, we take the difference of the numbers. So the difference of 57 and 23 is 34. And take the sign of the larger number. The larger number is 57, and it's negative. So my answer is going to be a negative 34. For our next example, let me slide this down. We have 5 minus 12. So that can be written as 5 plus a negative 12. So the 5 is positive, the 12 is negative, the signs are different. So we take the difference of the numbers. The difference of 5 and 12 is 7. And then we take the sign of the larger number. The larger number is 12, and it's negative, so my answer is a negative 7. For number 5, we have 3 minus a minus 8. If you recall it all, when you have those two negatives back to back, that becomes a positive. Now both 3 and 8 are positive. They have the same sign, so I add them and carry the sign of them, which is positive. So my answer is a positive 11. Okay, and do a whole bunch more. So there's the next few. So for number 6, we have negative 4 minus 8. If you don't like it how it's written, you could write it as negative 4 plus a negative 8. But either way, the signs are the same. They're both negative. So that means I'm going to add them. So 4 plus 8 is 12. And take the sign of them, which is negative. So my answer is going to be a negative 12. Let me make that a little better for y'all. Okay, so for number 7, again, we have back-to-back negatives that are there. So that means negative 12 plus 5. And now the 12 is negative, the 5 is positive. So since the signs are different, I take the difference of the numbers. So the difference of 12 and 5 is 7. And I take the sign of the larger number. The larger number is 12. So my answer is going to be a negative 7, since 12 was negative and it was the larger integer. For number 8, we've now moved into multiplication. When you multiply a positive number times a negative number, you end up with a negative number. So negative 4 times a positive 8 is a negative 32. Okay, but for number 9, notice that both my integers are negative. A negative 3 times a negative 12 is going to yield a positive 36. A negative number times a negative number yields a positive number. Then to throw a little twist on it, I have three integers I'm multiplying. Negative 2 times a positive 3 times a negative 5. So let's do the first two. Negative 2 times a positive 3 yields a negative 6. Then we still have times the negative 5. And remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. So negative 6 times a negative 5 is a positive 30. So when you're multiplying, a negative times a negative is a positive. A positive times a negative is a negative. And then we're going to move down to our last operation, which is division. So for number 11, we have negative 4 divided by 9 can also be written as, negative 54 divided by 9. And division works the same as multiplication. A negative divided by a positive is going to yield a negative. So 54 divided by 9 is 6. And since it was a negative divided by a positive, it's going to be a negative 6. Moving on to number 12. We're going to write it as this. It's 48 divided by a negative 6. Again, I have different signs. A positive divided by a negative is going to give me a negative. And 48 divided by 6 is 8. So my answer is negative 8. My last example, I have negative 26 divided by negative 2. And a negative divided by a negative, just like in multiplication, a negative times a negative yields a positive. So this answer is going to be a positive 32. So positive 32. So remember, a positive times a negative yields a negative. A negative times a positive yields a negative. But a negative times a negative is going to give you a positive, and so is a positive times a positive. So those are the rules for multiplication. Those are the same rules for division. So a positive divided by a negative is a negative. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. A negative divided by a negative is a positive, and a positive divided by a positive is a positive. And then with addition and subtraction, just remember, if the signs are the same, you add them and carry the sign. If the signs are different, you take the difference of the numbers and carry the sign of the larger integer. That's the end of today's lesson on integers. I hope you are able to get through your homework, the summer work in this section without a problem. Remember, you can watch the video more than once, and I hope you have great success. Goodbye.